when will the Twitch apocalypse happen? Right? There are people that are the front of this platform that are just horrible people. At what point do companies no longer want to be associated with Twitch? I want to preface this by saying we're going to go into the political realm, but it ties into streaming and gaming. Look, I don't know enough about what's going on overseas to be educated at all to talk about it, right? That's where I'm going to start there. But I do think it's worth mentioning from afar some of the things that are happening here in the States because of things that are happening overseas, right? And this morning, there was an incident where there's some Israeli diplomats that were shot dead in Washington, D.C., right here. It was 2 staff members from the Embassy of Israel were fatally shot outside of the Capitol Jewish Museum in Washington, D.C. The suspect, identified as 30-year-old Elias Rodriguez from Chicago, shouted "Free Palestine" after shooting and during arrest. Authorities are investigating possible motives, including terrorism and anti-Semitism. Although full context behind his actions remain under review. Okay, so like I said, I am not a political person, never have been a political person, but the reason why this is important to talk about is because there have been a lot of talks about Twitch, in particular, Hasan Piker over there, who is like BFFs with the CEO and why he never gets banned and some of the things that he said. The reason why we're bringing this up is that Hasan Piker was directly brought up today in this. Just saw this tweet from Yeet. Says today will be an interesting day to say the least. The head of the ADL, Jonathan Greenblatt, just brought up Hasan Piker's name when talking DC Jewish Museum attack. I have not seen this. We're going to check this out in real time to see kind of what's going on here. And once again, the reason why this is important is because this could have direct impact on Twitch as a platform, which is, I think, the reason why it's important to talk about this. So here we go.
But all of us need to call it out. I'm thinking about the New York Times doing a gauzy profile a few weeks ago of this gamer, Hasan Piker, who regularly employs awful genocidal rhetoric against Jewish people in the Jewish state. Like, extremists should not be empowered. People who spout prejudice should not be platformed. This is a moment when we need to look ourselves in the mirror and say, we've got to stop this because the consequences are deadly.
So they say his name verbatim in here, Hasan Piker. And Piker is one of the biggest streamers on Twitch, which obviously Twitch is a massive platform that has been huge forever and is promoted on their front page regularly. And it'll be very interesting to see how Twitch responds to this. Because once again, when you think Twitch, their primary thing is games. This is what you hear. They got Rocket League over here, the ESL CS right here, Counter-Strike. They got all this, and naturally they have, just chatting and such. And that's obviously their biggest category over there. But it'll be very interesting to see Twitch's statement on this. If this person who did these horrible things today was a Hasan Piker viewer and said, like, I was influenced by them. We've seen this played out the other way where people say, hey, you're getting radicalized by Theo Vaughn or Joe Rogan, right? Or watching a show like Side Scrollers or whatever, right? And not to say we're in that category by any means, but you've seen the finger pointed at streamers and at podcasters who talk about these things on a day-to-day basis. Will the finger finally be pointed at Piker to the point to where Twitch has to take action over here? And I want to be like really clear. I don't think you can be responsible for your audience, right? You guys are all grown-ass men. If you guys decide to do something really fucking stupid or really fucking smart, we didn't have anything to do with it. You guys did it yourself, right? You have autonomy over your own body and your own free will. But the fact that Piker specifically was pointed out by, and is being combed as far as, an example of this is interesting. And it does tie in to games. It does tie into entertainment, because if Twitch doesn't act in this situation, there could be dramatic blowback to the point, not. And once again, you need to also remember that Twitch is owned by Amazon. Does Amazon want to be associated with this? These are all questions. There's a domino effect to all these things, these butterfly effect to this. So we'll see what domino falls first. The first one kind of is starting to drop here by him being named verbatim here. And like I said, people like, you should have an opinion about this. I don't have an opinion about this. I don't know enough about this to have an opinion on it. But I see 2 people died. I see someone who may have potentially viewed this guy, and I see a platform that hasn't done anything about this yet. So it's interesting, to say the least. Will this be the downfall of Piker? And if it's not, will it be the downfall of Amazon wanting to be associated with Twitch? You got anything on this, Blabs?
No, I kind of echo your sentiments here. I don't know enough to say anything. They could just be using his name as slandering. I'm not defending Hasan whatsoever, right? I think he's a vile piece of shit. He should have been platformed ages ago. Basically just on like hypocritical stances, right? Someone gets banned for something, but he doesn't. So like based on those, I will wait to say anything else really, because we just don't know enough, and I don't want to be like, look. However, I think he's a huge piece of shit, but I don't want to be like, oh, he isn't responsible for this. Like, I don't know.
To bring it back to everyone's favorite waitress, I wonder how she's responding to this news in the morning. Just curious to see, because she's one of the biggest simps for Piker out there. So
I actually don't give a flying fuck about her opinion. I don't know why you should care.
It's not necessarily about her opinion, but the fact that she's gone to bat and really like is a simp for the dude. She's
showing us her colors. Therefore, we shouldn't give any time, like any time of day, should not be warranted towards that thing. Her.
Yep. Trilla says Hasan is definitely done now. The FBI is already on his ass. Dan Clancy is also screwed for allowing him to stay on platform, right? And I think that's why this is a reason that we're even discussing this on the show. Like I said, I don't know enough about this stuff, but I do think it is, the trickle-down effect could be very, very real here. So Sparky says mainstream media is giving way more airtime to Hasan than he deserves. I think he had his uncle's help on this, i.e. Hasan's a plant. They really want their Joe Rogan of the left and are betting on Piker. Demagini says, I hate hearing about stuff like... I'm sorry, I butchered your name
every time.
Just big old D. I remember when they heavily went after PewDiePie for another unfortunate event, but he was more on YouTube, right? And okay, once again, the trickle-down effect from this even further. Advertising, right? We saw the YouTube ad apocalypse several years ago. We've seen several versions of this over the years. When will the Twitch apocalypse happen? Right? There are people that are the front of this platform that are just horrible people. At what point do companies no longer want to be associated with Twitch? And how quickly after that does Amazon pull the plug? Victor says, I hate Hasan, but what standards do we have for pointing fingers at influencers for causing violence? This good point you guys for anti-trans violence. I think a serious sit down for laying out standards must happen. I agree. To be clear, the idea of anti-trans violence from us is fucking stupid. I've always said you can do whatever the fuck you want. It doesn't mean I can't laugh at you, right? But yes, I 100% agree. The idea of like pointing fingers at quote unquote influencers for their audience is really fucking stupid. But what's interesting about this is that he was named on a fairly liberal platform, CNN, in this situation. It's interesting. So, got another video for you right here. Go to watch it. It's a good one.